Hello everyone. Hope you all are having a wonderful day today. Welcome to Mystikcon, and today we will be talking a bit on OSINT for beginners. This session is a primer session where we'll be covering basics of OSINT, its concepts and tools needed to get you started on this wonderful OSINT journey. So before moving ahead, let me give you a small introduction about myself. My name is Nabila. I'm a security consultant by profession. I've been in this industry since the past 4 to 5 years. Working, penetration testing on web application, mobile application, and other website-related details, and OSINT as well. You could reach out to me on the following Twitter and Telegram handles shown on the screen. Next is a disclaimer. Any views or opinions presented in this presentation are solely mine and do not necessarily represent my employer. So this presentation is for strictly education purposes only, and please do not use this kind of information for any unauthorized activity to harm anyone or to carry out any unofficial or unauthorized activity as such. So this is the agenda for today's session. Today, we would be understanding what OSINT is all about, the significance, and how the process of OSINT carries out in place. Next would be the sock puppets. Sock puppets, we understand the how to create the sock puppets and how one can make their own performing OSINT or while carrying out investigations against a particular target. Okay, so that's something which we'll be covering in the point number 2. Third would be OSINT and personality. Okay, so in this, we would be understanding the correlation between OSINT and personality and how these attributes of one's online persona can give out a lot of details and a lot of clues to the social engineers that would, further impact us in the long run. Okay, so based on these attributes, they would further craft on their attacks and carry out their respective engagement, social engineering engagement, to lure the victims and go on further with it. And the fourth would be the information to look out for. Okay, so we would be looking into while performing OSINT, what sort of information one should look for while like performing this particular thing like OSINT. Like what sort of details are we looking for, like server version or port version, port number, and so on and so forth. So this would we'll be looking into what sort of things we need to go for. Next would be uh, uh, tools used. So I will be giving a brief introduction on the basic tools we will be using in this session and how you can start looking for how you can use them and what sort of information do we get from these tools. Okay. Next would be a brief introduction and understanding of social engineering. So social engineering basically occurs post the information gathered in the first level, that is OSINT. This is often a part of a red team engagement wherein when post performing OSINT and getting the details out of it, social engineering attacks are performed. And based on that, we will also look for the various social engineering attacks happening in day-to-day life further in slides. So yes, so after that, we would be looking into the psychology behind social engineering. We will be looking into the real cause of why so many organizations and so many employees fall prey to social engineers, and what sort of psychology and attributes do they tap on based on which people readily or employees readily give out details. That's something we need to really look into and get educated with. So that's some. So we will be looking into that as well. And as stated earlier, we will be also talking a bit more about SC attacks and as we are in the current scenario, we have all seen or heard many scams and online hoaxes using this kind of attacks. And in the current situations, we often have seen, due to the pandemic, many scams and uh, a lot of hoaxes happening. So due to the fear and confusion still by it. So we will be looking into similar kind of attacks in this session. And last but not the least, we would be having a small demo on Vertigo, which is a very well-known OSINT information gathering tool that will definitely be a wonderful arsenal or a part of arsenal in your toolkit for information gathering. So with that, let's just jump into it, the session. Yeah, so this is a meme. It says when you stalk someone so hard, you actually end up fine. So with this, I just want to convey that we all are users of OSINT, since unknowingly we have been using or used passive OSINT to find out information, be it on the new actor in a Netflix series or finding out all about, a certain potential, significant person you are interested in. So we all have donned the hats of a bending investigator. So in order to maybe catch the red flags of their personality before it's too late. We all have scurried through the social media to find out what sort of person they are, what sort of things they're into, and so on and so forth. So with that, let's get straight to the basics and understand OSINT a little better. So by definition, it means that OSINT is basically open source intelligence, which publicly uses available sources to collect information, that is intelligence about persons or entities. So these information could be retrieved from social media, newspapers, business documents, publications, internet. Okay? Usually this kind of engagements are very passive in nature. They hardly touch the target at hand. Public information usually reveals a lot about an organization. Usually is used by a bunch of people like investigators, penetration testers, and security analysis. You know, for different purposes based on their respective roles. In case of a penetration tester or you can say security analyst, OSINT is usually performed during the initial reconnaissance phase, wherein they are tasked to, like perform basic scanning or basic, rough reconnaissance of the respective, maybe the scope at hand, or maybe some sort of a public IPs at hand. So usually they do it in the initial part of phase, and that is called as network enumeration phase. So due to the vast amount of information available on the web, attackers must have a very clear and defined search framework, as well as a wide array of person collection tools to facilitate processing the data, otherwise they obviously risk getting lost in the overwhelming sea of information. Okay, so further, ocean reconnaissance can be broken down into the following 5 subphases. Let us see that. So the first, as you can see in the table, in the diagram, first is source identification. During this phase or during the initial phase, the attacker identifies potential information sources about the respective target. Sources are internally documented throughout the process in detailed notes to come back to later if necessary. So whatever information they have gathered in the first phase would be saved and then used in the second phase for data harvesting. In the data harvesting, in this phase, the attacker collects and harvests information from the selected sources and other sources that are discovered throughout this phase. The third would be data processing and integration. In this phase, the attacker processes and harvests data for actionable intelligence by searching for information that may assist in enumeration. And next is data analysis. Here, the attacker performs the analysis of the processed information using OSINT tool. So whatever information we have gathered in the first, third, and second, third stage would be accumulated in the fourth stage, and it would be given to OSINT tools for further processing. Next would be the results delivery. In the final phase, as we all know, findings would be presented and reported for further analysis of the respective organization. So now we'll be talking about sock puppets. We all would be wondering why a certain toy is on presentation. But sock puppets are not a toy, but a very important part of open source intelligence. They are in fact aliases. Okay, they are basically used to create fake social media accounts to research innocent without giving up the real true identity. As stated, sock puppets are basically aliases fictitious persona profiles created by someone else with a specific goal, with specific goals in mind, and is part of an OSINT social engineering technique. Sock puppets are, um, yeah. So basically, these type of accounts can be used by anyone, like investigators, detectives, hackers, police, journalists. It can be anyone who wants to impersonate someone else. Okay, so one would be thinking like it's a very simple task. Why have such a complex name and complex methodology? But it is not a simple task at all. Because in order to create a sock puppet, it needs to be credible and consistent with how the real person behaves online. Despite creating and using it is not going to prove feasible at all. Because the sock puppets has or needs to have a real name, a real phone number, address, photographs, real credit card number, various social media accounts, friends, and so on and so forth. So the purpose would be, in case of detectives or investigators, they would be requiring these sock puppets to create for themselves to carry out certain investigations against certain profiles of us, maybe a certain profile basically, and without being detected or giving a certain clue to the respective person. Whereas hackers or maybe malicious adversary would use it for carrying out their social engineering attacks or any other motives. So after understanding the main purpose of a sock puppet, now you would want to know or to understand how to create one. So for that, one needs to keep in mind that while creating a sock puppet, one should never add it to your through your own private IP address. One should never do that. Instead, go for a VPN or a Tor to ensure that anonymity is maintained. Or even better, they could use a public Wi-Fi for account creation. Also, while creating a social media account, one should ensure that the audience which they are targeting should be using the same social media account which you are using, just to ensure that you are in the same uh, you know just to ensure that you are in the same audience level as possible. Also, try to make the account as legit as possible. Like before, while creating an account, do not just jump right into the investigation. Try to create the account at least 4 to 5 months before your investigation or maybe your testing, because during that period, one has to make the account legit and credible. During that stage, one could keep it active by posting or adding friends and making it more real so that once that particular period has completed and you could use that account for further testing and analysis, or to make sure that your account looks real enough to be trusted. Okay, sorry. Okay, so once that is out of the picture, let us see how we can proceed with creation of a sock puppet. For creation of that, first of all, we need a certain name. So we won't be creating a random names out of nowhere. We have websites for it, which will help us in giving us all the predefined information like your address, phone number, birth date, so on and so forth, which were all fake. So one of these addresses are fakenamegenerator.com. So from fake name generator, you could create a person that never existed with a name, address, mother's maiden name, email address, weight, height, credit card, number, date of birth, favorite color, vehicle number, and all sorts of information you need to be that person. Okay, please remember all of these details are fake and can be used to create a sock puppet. The other website which I have here is elfprint.com. It also serves the same purpose like fake name generator. It will give you fake details of person, which will be easier to create a sock puppet and use it for your own advantage. Now we have the name and every information of fake person. We can move on to creation of the online persona that comes with face. With the face, you can get from the above link. Uh, this person does not exist.com. Upon every refresh, you would be presented with a new face, but do not worry, this face is not real at all. The website creates fake faces with AI. So the faces created by the website do not exist in the real world. So you can definitely take one of these pictures and use it, for the sock puppet purpose. So now we have done or we have completed the name and face creation. Next would be, you know, phone number creation, phone number basically. So in this, usually you do not require phone numbers for passive reconnaissance, but in case you need to go really deep into the investigations, then it is recommended to use a burner phones. But then one must ensure that it is not connected to you in any way. A home or a SIM card that you'll be using, like basically a SIM card that you use only for the stock account and nothing else. Because the entire practice of this SOC account is to ensure that your identity remains uh, far from this particular account. You do not want any sort of uh, practices, any sort of hint being given to your real account. So this is the only reason why we're ensuring that we are creating this entire thing. If you want to register yourself using a phone number, it's recommended go for a burner phone and use it. Okay, so apart from this, there's some last tips. Like some last tips that are recommended. Firstly, to make long-term accounts. Like, don't start researching anyone without making your account long enough. As already stated, ensure that the account at least is 4 to 5 months old, and then post that you can definitely use it as your sub account. Do not use a real person's face because the first thing anyone would do is do a reverse engineering or reverse image search on it. Try to post a things creating or creation on your social media account to appear legitimate and real. So this is just a few tips on how to make your sub account legitimate and fully normal. So I hope you have understood that. Next we'll be talking about OSINT and personality. So personality basically is made up of the big five attributes, or as you call it, ocean. The attributes are openness, consciousness, extraversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Okay. So openness basically depicts the appreciation for art, abstract ideas, adventure, and so on and so forth. Whereas the following other attributes depicts a tendency to be organized, dependable, being self-disciplined, achievement-oriented. Extroversion depicts being energetic, hopeful, sociable, confident, seeking stimulation. Basically, all of these attributes are somewhat correlated to the kind of person you are and what sort of details you're giving out to the world with respect to your online personas. And using these qualities, often social engineers would craft their attacks and try to lure you with something which you are into. Like, for example, extroversion and neuroticism significantly associates with social media usage. Conscientiousness negatively related to social media gaming and intelligence. They also, as per the analysis, greatly correlates to right-wing conservatism, authority respect, and moral inhibitions. The complete opposite from openness. As already stated, openness is an attribute that is directly uh, correlated to someone who is more open to abstract ideas and open to any experiences. Neuroticism correlates with child trauma, avoid corresponding effects. Neuroticism correlates with bad rhythm, observe times of online presence, and uh, contact accordingly before after. Extraversion has strong correlation with happiness and well-being, whereas agreeableness basically depicts the tendency to be compassionate, cooperative, and agreeable in a sense, and in a way, passive, you could say. Okay, apart from that, there are the other dark triad, which is this was a positive triad, whereas the dark triad consists of narcissism. It depicts grandiosity, pride, egotism, and a lack of empathy. Psychopathy depicting antisocial behavior, impulsivity, selfishness, carelessness, and remorsefulness. And there are other set of psychosocial characteristics like stress, depression, happiness, insecure, persuasive. and so on and so forth. So based on these characteristics, one can definitely find out a lot about the person and the kind of things they're into, based on which the social engineers will devise their attacks and try to lure the person based on what they are and what they are into. Having said that, let us get straight into what to look for. So while we're trying to, like get our tools running, we should be looking into these information to find out more about the target and the scope at hand. So here we have technology infrastructure, IP, hostname, services, network, software, hardware versions, and OS information, geolocation, and network diagrams. These are basically infrastructure related details that would come in handy for many different people, like penetration testers for that matter. And there's database documents, papers, presentations, spreadsheets, and configuration files. Next is metadata, email, employee, search name, and so on. So the last two basically can be all of these information can definitely be helpful with a lot of tools that we have in today. So let us move straight ahead. Now let's go straight into the tools. So today we'll be covering the following tools: Shodan, OneBook.cz, Harvester, and Multego. So the fourth one, I'll be giving a short demo on it shortly. So before that, let us get straight into the Shodan application. So Shodan, I'm sure many of you all have already gone through it, but just for a starter, Shodan is a very popular SIM tool that is specifically designed for internet-connected devices. Okay, just like your IoT with your games, camps, industrial control system, and so on. Okay. For the explanation purpose, I'm using a Jordan GUI, and it is basically it's very simple to use. You need to ensure that you are logged in to view all of these internal details in uh, testing. So you can use the Shodan GUI of the website, which presents some added functionality. As you can see on the screen, you can view the live camera feeds and many cams and webcams as well. Apart from that, the main basic functionality, the basic quality of Shodan is that it views or it helps visually depict geographically where exactly vulnerabilities are located throughout the world. So if you search for a certain web version or a certain uh, web version, OS version, and just type the country, they'll give you a certain list of all the information. Along with that, it'll give you the number of occurrences that happen in different cities of the country. So it kind of indexes the data and gives you a very, enlarged data information on different based on geographical locations as well. It is very similar to Google. Okay? It is a search engine, but while Google searches for websites, Shodan searches for devices that are internet, like that are connected to the internet, basically. Users can perform a search engine using search using the Shodan search based on IP address, device name, city, or a variety of other technical categories. But for that, they need to ensure that they are logged in. And because a free account, I mean, it is extremely necessary to be logged in, either as a free account or as a paid account. And as a limitation, Shodan limits its free service to only 50 search results. So that's something to drawback. But then again, we have a lot of information, so we can definitely dig into it. Okay, so this is the picture that depicts after we have done the search. So here you have seen that here at the search bar, I've written Apache country. So here in this session, Apache is written. Along with that, I specify the country as US and the organization as Google LC. Based on that, it has given me four results. And in the left bar, you've seen a list of cities in which the occurrences have occurred. And the right is the results of all the uh, servers that have matched this respective query. In order to navigate in Shodan, okay, one needs to use filters just like Google. Like in Google, we have Google Docs. In Shodan, we have filters specific to like country, ports, OS. So whenever you want to find out information about a certain country or based on what OS they're using, you can do so by simply typing Apache or any OS version you want to type with country. colon the respective, country colon the respective code, uh, and the search will be giving similar results and in a very uh, elaborate way. As you have already mentioned, the basic story searches usually are country, port number, network ports, open system, and so on. One can use these filters in the queries to narrow down the searches. For example, if I want to specify, even for internet connected devices, it is possible to do so. So if I want to find out about Cisco devices in certain cities, in Miami or anything, you can just search Cisco and the city colon respective city name. Accordingly, all the results would be in disposal and it will give you results according to what is being queried. Also, uh, in the home page, you can go back and see what sort of recent searches or hot searches are there that that you want to be searching. Based on that, you can also find out information based on it. So next, we'll be talking about is the harvester. So harvester basically is a tool that's developed using Python. This tool can be used by penetration testers or any security analysis for gathering information of emails, subdomains, hosts, employment, open ports, and banners from different public sources and search engines. This tool can be used in uh, passive reconnaissance and by anyone who needs to know what an attacker can see about the organization. Okay. So this tool is comes pre-installed in Kali. You can definitely go through it. So the syntax is something like this: the harvester hyphen h hyphen d domain. You need to specify a hyphen d space domain you need to search for. Then hyphen g is for Google Docs. Hyphen p is for the ports which I'm going to mention. S is for Shodan. If you want to add Shodan searches as well, you can add that, and so on and so forth. The next slide would be a sample result. So here I've done a subdomain searches basically on Google, the harvester-d Kali org, hyphen L 100. So this is the limit of 100 hyphen D in Google. So this has given me the results of of Kali.org using Google. This is the kind of results we get in Harvester. Okay, the next is your phonebook.cv. So this respective application gives you details of URLs and domains, and also email addresses as well. This so on the selecting the buttons, the radio buttons, you can just select the domain name and click on search. You'll be getting the details of URLs associated with the domain which you have given. If it's in a wildcard range, you can definitely get the whole range of URLs based on it. And accordingly, they've also searched for email addresses based on the respective domain name. Um, okay, so basically it's like a tool is used for subdomains and email addresses retrieval. This tool basically comes in handy in another case wherein one needs to perform phishing and one is given a certain target, say a company name, and you need to find out the official email addresses of that company. So you can definitely use this tool among other tools to find out the email addresses of that company, based on which further on you could devise your attack and plan your um, social engineering attack based on the kind of list you're getting. So this is the kind of OSINT intel we're preparing for our next level, that is social engineering. Okay, so this will be very helpful in phishing, and usually it is being used for retrieval of all the information. So yes, apart from that, let us go straight to social engineering. Social engineering basically is a manipulation technique that exploits human error to gain private information. Okay, in cybercrime, these human hacking scams tend to lure unsuspecting users into exposing data, spreading malware, infections, or giving access to unrestricted or restricted systems. Attacks can happen online, in person, or via other interactions. Scams based on social engineering are built around harming how people think and act based on how things as such. Social engineering attacks are specifically used for manipulating users' behavior. Once an attacker understands what motivates a user's action, they can deceive them easily and manipulate the users effectively. In addition, often the malicious adversaries try to exploit a user's lack of knowledge. Thanks to the speed of technology, many consumers or employees aren't aware of certain threats like drive-by download and so on. Users also may not realize the full value of personal data like their phone numbers and exposing their phone number and other personal information. As a result, many users are unsure how best to protect themselves and how to stop trusting people whoever they meet. Generally, social engineering attackers have one or two kind of goals. Okay? First is sabotage. Either they want to disrupt or corrupt data to cause harm or inconvenience, or number two, theft. Obtaining valuables like information, access, or money. So this social engineering definition, we'll definitely have a further look into the next slide with the psychology of social engineering. As already stated, attackers will attempt to take advantage of a multitude of psychological traits, this one's carelessness or curiosity, empathy, complacency, and most frequently ignorance. These attributes kind of make the respective victim vulnerable in the hands of the respective social engineers. So let us get straight to the next slide and understand the psychology behind social engineering. So, social engineering basically works on the six principles of persuasion by Dr. Robert. The first is reciprocity. We pay back what we receive from others because people are often inclined to be fair. In fact, receiving a gift triggers a neurological response in the area of the brain. If, for example, a certain friend of yours buys you a certain thing, so you would feel obliged to pay them back as soon as possible. That's a kind of that's a kind of thing the person does. But that's how reciprocity is used in phishing. You can in phishing what happens is like an attacker must send an email, okay, stating that they are giving a very free coupon or exclusive coupon to you, and then ask the user to sign up and retrieve it. Without thinking, the user would definitely would give off the details because they're getting something freer, right? They're getting something interesting out of it. So they would definitely fill in the details and fall prey to whatever is the attacker has in mind for them. Next is commitment and consistency. We tend to stick with whatever we have already chosen. Most people value integrity. We admire honesty and reliability in others, and we try to practice it in our very own lives. This is what drives the principle of consistency. People are often motivated to remain consistent with prior statements and actions. So, how would you wonder how or where you could use this kind of attribute in with respect to social engineering perspective? As we all know, scammers often take advantage of people's desire to be consistent. So, in the initial part, they've obviously tried to ask something less instead of asking something more. So when you ask for something less and gradually increase it, people would easily believe you and then would fall prey to that. Next is social proof. We tend to have more trust in things that are popular or endorsed by people that we trust. This is basically when people are uncertain, they look to others to help them formulate an opinion. Even when they're confident of their beliefs, the consensus opinions can be very persuasive. They basically, like they depend a lot on social media, and with respect to cultural trends, they kind of go with it. So this is often exploited by the attackers, and this kind of need of being in trend, social trends, can be one of the reasons why people often fall for this. Number four is liking. We are more likely to comply with requests made by people we like. Okay, so this means that probably you often do not you often likely to say yes to someone we like or someone whom we trust. So if they recommend something to us, we would often agree to it and listen to it. So how can this be used in terms of social engineering? When a bad actor or a respected malicious guy or spoofs or hacks an individual email account, and then through that email account tries to contact the respective friend or the respective relative. The other person, without thinking or without like without cross checking, would listen to the demands and often wire money based on what sort of info they are asking. So this is a principle of liking. They're hoping that one of the hacking victims won't spend much time recognizing the email address and just act because they like the sender and they have full trust on the sender. So they won't think twice and often end up, doing fulfilling the demands sent by the sender, which is actually not the sender. Next is the authority. We follow people who look like they know what they're doing. This is, this is a very common thing. People tend to follow the lead of credible experts, like, for example, teachers, doctors, your bosses, political leaders, and so on. Someone uh, who knows what they're doing and who shows that they know what they're doing. So it is often exploited a lot by social engineers because what happens is if using authority figures in order to trick users is very common because once they try to spoof a certain individual's email address and tries to send an email across to the team stating that they need this done urgently and very immediately, and often the people would be forced to listen to them because they are at a certain level and there is no provision to second guess their opinions, because because this person they are contacting is at a very big state, I mean, at a very big level, and there must be something that there must be a certain reason, and we all wish to believe that reason. Next is scarcity. We are always drawn to things that are exclusive and hard to come by. It's human nature, basically, because we all um, like a certain thing that, or we always put a certain thing at a higher pedestal when it is in limited supply. This tactic is also used in abundance in e-commerce websites because often when we are doing certain shopping or things like that, we often find a certain notification that says this is very, only limited in a number or only two left or three left. So we often scurry in that to add this to our cart and get it as soon as possible without thinking. So this is something that often the social engineers use it to their disposal. Oftentimes they would send an email across stating that that please, if for example, if they have a certain coupon, they will say something like, this certain coupon will expire in a day, within 24 hours. Please, use it as soon as possible. So if you don't click on the link, you will get it will get resolved. So obviously, the victims would fall prey to it as very early because this particular free thing is very scarce in nature. This is just a gist of the psychology used by social engineers. And the next is the phases of social engineering. So to perform social engineering, you need to follow the following defined steps: investigation, hook, play, and exit. So the first is investigation. The investigation phase is when the attacker is performing their recon. They During this stage, they might choose their targets based on one's position within an organization, ease of access, or they might just choose a wide range audience based on who takes the bait first. So after choosing a target, they will use public information to learn as much as possible about them. Okay, so these sources will include social media, company websites, or even the profiles that provide a wealth of information for them to use. Okay, so the next would be the hook phase. The hook phase involves an initial interaction with the target. So unlike OSINT, social engineering does involve a lot of interaction with the respective target, and along with interaction, a lot of persuasion. They would initially try to interact with the target, ranging from emails to in-person contact. During the hook, the attacker focuses on spinning a huge web of lies to manipulate the victims at their will. With okay, so this is wherein they start to try to lure the victim into their own fairy tale they have won, and through that they will try to play as third step. During the play phase, an attacker gains a strong foothold and carries out the attack. So, depending on their goals, they will begin disrupting or stealing sensitive and valuable data. In next but not least, the exit phase. So, the exit phase points to the end of the life cycle. The social engineer will attempt to remove all traces of their presence and bring an end to their shard. Everything that hackers gained or learned during the process is then used during a new attack, and then used, basically it is used to make to more effectively con another victim. So after all of this, they will just make a quick exit and try to remove all traces of their interactions from the respective things. So now we'll be talking about the different social engineering attacks. Okay, the first is phishing. In this thread would be a hacker emails the target claiming to be a trusted contact. Okay, so in this, what happens is, as we all know, phishing is a very well-known way to grab information from an unwitting victim. So let us see how. I mean, the way it works is, the cybercriminal or a phisher, he sends a message to a target that's like that asks for some type of information or action that might help them with a more significant crime. So this thing which they've asked can be as simple as encouraging you to download an attachment or verify your email address. Okay. So here, something to worth noting is that there are many forms of phishing that social engineers choose from, all the different means of targeting. The different spam phishing often takes the form of one big email sweep, but they don't really target a single one. They really target a large group of audience. So this is something to do with phishing. Next will be the spear phishing. Spear phishing usually targets individual users, perhaps by impersonating someone really important or someone trustable or legit. Okay, that's spear phishing. And whaling is quite similar to spear phishing, but here they usually target high-level executives, and um, yeah, that's something which they do. It also involves, yeah, usually these executives would be a CEO or someone really at the top of the board. Okay. Then we'll be talking more about pretexting. Suppose recon, someone tries to be someone else and gains that person's confidence based on what's been learned. The most common, it's like you pretend to be someone else and would try to go on with the conversation based on what sort of information they've got while OSINT. They will pretend to be someone else and try to, get their work done. And all of this information would be carried out in the first stage of OSINT when they've done initial reconnaissance based on the target at hand. The example would be the most, like it usually involves a plausible scenario like a family or a business crisis. So often they would pretend to be someone who is into a certain crisis or personal crisis and seeking money or certain benefit. Okay. Uh, and they will try to lure the respective victim into giving via them some money or do a certain favor that they usually won't. Sometimes people wire money thinking they're paying a loved one bail or settling business account. The In order to gain confidence, one needs to have certain information. So the initial reconnaissance, as we have spoken earlier, helps the respective adversary to create a fictitious persona that they are the person which the victim believes they are, and that has a better chance of fooling the victim into compliance. Next, we will be talking about baiting. Baiting is very similar to fishing with the added bait. Okay. Baited is actually built on the premise of someone taking the bait, like something you are dangling something desirable from the victim and hoping they'll bite. This occurs most often on peer-to-peer sites like social media, whereby someone might encourage you to, like listen to a certain song or download a video. Okay, it seems enticing for some. Like if you know if you've already done properly con on a certain individual, and you know that this person is interested in music, then definitely you would craft your attack in such a way that you would dangle something, you dangle something like you can download a new music app or an MP3. Just and when the person downloads, in fact, that particular payload will be infused with the respective application or the EXEs you have. So someone might encourage you, like, to download a video or a music video, and then when you download it, the malware will be installed. So your device would be infected along with that. A proper example would be that a social engineer might leave a USB stick, okay, loaded with malware, but the sticker on the USB would be written like top secret. So this is what might lure any unsuspecting employee that this might be, a very interesting USB stick and I must use it. So they would just without a thought stick to their respective computers and infect their PCs with malware. So it's a very simple yet effective way of getting into your PCs. In addition to that, the criminal might label the device as well. A target who takes a bait will pick up the device and plug it, as always. Okay. Uh, yes, so as already stated, they would label the respective device as top secret or very important. Without a further thought, we would stick to the respective PC and get it infected. Next would be your quid pro quo. It involves a trade of sensitive information for the promise of services rendered. This attack means a favor for a favor. Okay, essentially it means that I give you this, so you have to give me that, tit for tat. In the instance of social engineering, the victim, needs to send out or needs to share some information like account logins or payment methods, and then usually the end of the bargain, which was shared or promised by social engineers, do not come by. Okay. For example, like one might be on the lookout for a gaming forum and maybe for a cheat code for certain game to pass a certain level. So perhaps you would obviously contact a certain person and then they would promise you to help you out with the code. So, but for that, you need to share them money. Only post that they would show you the respective code. But after giving them the money, they would just vanish out of thin air, and then you know you're being scammed. And that's exactly how this particular attack works. These are just the gist. There are many more attacks in the picture, but for now, I have covered the following most common attacks in the recent page. And these are the references which I have used for while preparing this presentation. You can have a look at it and also get to know more about this. Okay, so now I'll be doing a demo on Mertigo, which is a wonderful listen tool. So let me minimize the screen and okay. So I have already opened up my I hope it is visible. Yes. Okay, so I have already opened up my instance. Let me straighten it up a bit. Okay, so this is the application which we're talking about is Maltego, and this is a wonderful OSINT tool that will be useful for carrying out information analysis in OSINT based on a person or in a domain. Okay. So in order to install that, you need to ensure that uh, you have to log in first of all in the multi community edition. There are different, different types. Like there's this community edition as well as a paid version. But for this demo version, we'll be focusing on the community edition. So before downloading, this would be present in your Kali Linux as well as pre-installed version. But uh, here I have installed a Windows-based version. So yeah, first of all, you need to log in and perform all of the initial login, all of the initial stages, and then you'll be presented with this respective screen. So in order to perform a network reconnaissance, so now we will be doing a network reconnaissance. So in order to do that, you need to first go into your new graph. Okay. So while doing that, in the left section, you'll find an entry palette that will give you a list of information like company name, device, date, organization. So this is just your input stage. Okay, you can decide whether you want to add a company, a business organization, or you want to add a banner. If you want to add um, you know a website, internet website, or if you want to perform a name, I mean, if you want to do a reconnaissance on a person, a website, an alias, anything. So it's up to you based on what sort of information you want to add and what sort of information you have. Or there's also an email address. So for this stage, I will be doing a domain name because I already have a domain in mind. So I will be also typing your domain and internet domain would become. So you just have to drag over here and rename the existing domain. For demo purpose, we'll be using google.com and click enter. So to further, start analyzing, you need to click on the right click button and you'll be finding certain transforms. So you'll be wondering what exactly transforms are. So transforms are basically connections. Okay, this application is based on various internal tools and APIs that are working all together to give you OSINT-based results. So they are called as transforms. So if I go deep and try to understand this, we will be given certain information based on DNS name, and most of them are DNS. Email addresses, if you want to find out email addresses based on this domain name, you can select this. Or if you want to find out addresses, you can select the same, and so on and so forth. And if you just want to get a collective data out of it all you have to do is select all transforms. Yes. Also, apart of that, there are a list of other, pre-installed transforms as well. But currently, they all need an API key. So for that, you need to, sign up in the respective application and get API key. So for now, for demo purposes, I've already added an API key for showing, so that will also give us some more interesting information apart from what a default result gives. So for now, I will just run the all transforms tab. This is going to give me snapshot details, and as I already stated, it's 17. I'm going to hit start. Now it is going to take some time, and then it will give me the information based on all the transforms. If I selected all, I will be getting all this information like DNS related, email addresses, so on and so forth. It will take some time to think all transforms. So as you can see, we have found out the domain and also a lot of email addresses. So this is how this is how your view works. You select all transforms will be greeted with whole bunch of information with respect to domain, with respect to your email addresses, and other information as well. Also, in the last we also find certain people's information as well. These are the people that are associated with Google. So we also have managed to find out people information as well. These are the way back into snapshots based on the record data. And we go down. We need to actually go look into all of the information and then figure out which one needs to be further analyzed.
Sorry to disturb you. You have 5 minutes left. Just want to notify you.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this is the kind of information we have. Then okay. Furthermore, you can also like click on the right option. Okay, so now we have got few people left, few people here. So if I want to find information about them, I will also run all transforms tab on them, and I'll just run entity, find entity proportion. Here I'll be typing out specific papers. I would be typing out specific entity. I think it's not in this one. Never mind. Let's go straight into it. Let's run full transform and see. Okay, so further let us observe the information. They have given us the email addresses associated with that individual. Yeah. So this is the email addresses associated with that individual. This is how, you know, actual, how reconnaissance is done. Just using one tool. Initially, what we need to do is we need to go about using a bunch of tools to find out information based on domain specific or a person specific. But here, using Turing or using Montague, we can carry out all of this information under one click and get all the information and narrow down this based on this information. This is just a gist of using Montague. I'm sure you can all go back and have a look at it. It's a very interesting tool. And you just have to, go through all of these results and narrow down your information based on what seems more appropriate. And then select, right click and select the information you need further. If you want to find out email addresses, if you want to find out family names, anything, or your phone numbers. Okay. But then again, depends on the API you have installed or not. So based on that, you can definitely further use it. But then again, in community version, it is said that it has less features as compared to your paid one. But it is good to work on. It would be interesting to look for or use this in your arsenal. So yeah, I think this is just a basic overview of how you can go about doing it, how you can go about your way with Multiro. It's a very interesting and simple tool. Kindly go through it and let me know if you have any doubts with regards to using it or all with regards to any of the session. So with that, I would like to end my session. Thank you so much for having me here. Hope you all have, got to know a bit more about OSINT. And yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure speaking here and giving my, little bit on this topic. So if there's any questions, I would love to take it. Or you can obviously reach out to me on